What is up? You know, there are comedy venues out there, and I sang their praises on one of the past podcasts. But when I was a musician, some of my most memorable shows that I went to or played at were in people's houses, non-traditional venues. I remember I went to the Metropolis, I believe it's called. I was freshly Austinized. I just got here. And this guy was like, yeah, man, our band is playing at the Metropolis. Here's the number. And I should have been tipped off. Actually, I don't even think he gave me a number now that I think about it, because I didn't know which one it was. He was just like, yeah, dude, we'll be playing. It's like, okay, cool. So I get there, and it's an apartment complex. It's like, all right, well, this is going to be difficult. But oddly enough, the first apartment that I went to, there was music playing. So the door was open. There's a couple hipster-looking chicks outside. I walked in. It was 4 dudes, super long hair. I didn't recognize any of them. It didn't look like any of them were my buddy who invited me out. But I sat there for like a good 5-10 minutes just watching their set. Then I looked around and realized I didn't know anybody there. I had just walked into somebody's apartment and was watching a show. So I turned, walked out, walked to the next building, and that's where my buddy was playing. And he was like, dude, I made a bunch of guacamole. I was like, okay, cool. But it was just a super memorable night. So the reason I bring that up is because one of the guys I'm going to talk about has facilitated a open mic called Catch a Vibe open mic. That's Mr. Tai Nguyen. So I'd like to talk about Tai. I'd like to talk about Chris Castles, who also frequents this mic, and Will Williams, who I've seen at this mic as well. 3 stand-up comedians here in Austin. I probably should have prefaced, but if you haven't heard the other episodes, the whole purpose of this podcast is to celebrate Austin stand-up comics and kind of pass the time until we can get back out there and start making people laugh again. So try to inject a little positivity into the community that I have infiltrated in some form or fashion. We go out, we tell our jokes, we pay our tabs, we cry in the cab on the way home, and we go to sleep. But yeah, let's get into it. So, who should I talk about first? Let me talk about Will. So, Will I met at Halcyon. I think my favorite joke of Will's, I think the first time I met Will, I think before I even really started talking to him, he was talking to Sean or Joe and turned to me and goes, hey, would you watch like a show where people paint and do a podcast? I was like, yeah, I guess. I suppose so. And then he offered me a CBD cigarette. So I was like, well, yeah, I like this guy already. He's, offering me cigarettes. Those aren't hard, easy to come by. Cigarettes, a lot of people are very, tight with their cigarettes. But, I just offered one right up. I thought that was really nice of him. I'd say my favorite joke of Will's is, there was one time I saw him do a set and he was smoking a cigarette on stage. And I thought it was so cool. I know Dave Chappelle has done that before. Obviously, I'm sure other comedians have. But he's the first comedian in Austin I saw smoking a cigarette and telling jokes. And I really liked it. But my favorite joke from Will is he has a joke about Jeff Bezos buying an island that's really funny. So keep that one in your act, man. That's a good one. But also just a super nice dude, really friendly whenever I go out. His girlfriend's also really sweet. So shout out to you, Will. Hope you're doing well. Hope Will is well. Let's get into Chris Castles, who also frequents this Catch a Vibe mic. So if y'all haven't been there, it's at, I think, Ty's house. Super chill. I mean, they have a couple couches set up. They have a stage. They got like a red curtain behind it, so you know it's legit. Everybody's super chill and relaxed, if you know what I mean. They have musicians. They have comedians. I've seen some what you would refer to as like interactive art pieces. His neighbor does some pretty crazy stuff, and it's hilarious. I heard a guy rap a really crazy song there one time that was also hilarious. I've seen people read poems. So it's just a really cool energy there, you know? Sometimes with stand-up, if it's just purely stand-up, people can seem a little judgy. Maybe it's just in your head. But it could also be that people are judging other people. But, you know, we're all out there to just to be loved. You know, to get up there and make people laugh and have a drink. But yeah, so I just kind of wanted to set up the environment. I really like it there. Tai himself, I mean, got to be one of my like top 5 favorite comedians in Austin. I mean, he came out to the Bomb City open mic. One of the first nights we had it at iHeartVideo, and we chopped it up with him afterwards, went out and had a drink. Just a super cool dude, man. Super fucking smart, too. And also just has some of my favorite jokes. I mean, his joke about rap music is really funny. His 9/11 joke, if I don't describe it, then it just sounds like a horrid joke. But it's really good. I mean, when you can make a dark subject funny, then you're doing your job as a comic. I feel like there are certain topics that you just like can't quite touch in the beginning because they're risky. And if you don't know what you're doing, then, you know, you can really dig yourself into a hole pretty quick. But Tai's just good, man. I think my favorite Tai moment was watching him at Halcyon, and there was this group of like white frat dudes in the front row. And they were kind of laughing at stuff, but then Tai goes up and goes, "Oh yeah, this is my demographic." And then they kind of giggled, and then he did his first joke and they laughed. And then he did another joke and they laughed again. And like, it was crazy. Like he had them like doubled over pretty much by the time he walked off stage. I was like, damn, I don't know if he just knew that those guys were going to like his stuff or what, but yeah, he crushed it. I said I was going to talk about Chris. I went right into Tai. I'll talk about Chris after this, but sorry, Chris. But yeah, man, I remember following Tai at Cenote one time for an open mic, and it was the first time I've ever followed somebody and didn't have to do much. They were already laughing. So I kind of remarked on his set and just it was like riding somebody else's wave. It was a really cool feeling. I followed other people before. Like I followed Jesse Lopez one time at Parlor, and he just kind of like burns down the room. Like he's like I think of him as like a runaway train. He just goes up there and it's loud and it's energy, and then he's done and he's gone. And it's like, okay, well then you got to go up. And I'm like, hey, I was like, oh guys, what are we doing? That's my stand-up comedy voice, but. Yeah, but I remember following Tai, and I think I'd remarked on his set, and then he said something back to me, and the crowd loved it. His comment, but I don't know, just a really fun set. So, I felt like I'd already like, if there's anybody in Austin that I've learned lessons from that I could point to somebody and say, yeah, I've learned a couple things from him, it'd be Tai. So shout out to you, Tai. You're funny. Chris Castles. Chris Castles is my favorite joke of his is the comedy or poets or something like that. He'll know what I'm talking about. If you've seen it, you would get it too. But he's got a really funny joke about that. He also does like kind of like improv songs at the Catch a Mic vibe. Which go from like really serious, really like funny to like really serious and poignant, at least to me. I don't know if that's his intention, but that's the way it comes across. I I really appreciate his perspective on stage and kind of the way he does it. He's like a what's the word I'm looking for? Meta. He's got kind of a meta quality to him, which I really appreciate. You don't see that much. He's also pretty good at guitar too. So, shouts out to you, Chris. Always been a nice dude. So yeah, shouts out to Will. Shouts out to Ty. Shouts out to Chris. Thank you everybody for listening. If you're a stand-up comedian, there's a good chance I'm going to talk about you at some point if I haven't already. Make sure to check out the other episodes. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, and stand-up comedy will be back soon. Have a great day.